I'm going to tell you a story. Now, where this story begins is this isn't so much as a story as to someone else who may know greater understanding or may have an understanding of what I'm talking about. It'll seem like some kind of a riddle in which, like, what do I get out of this? But if you solve the riddle on your own, then the gift is yours. But I'm going to start this out with putting things into perspective for other people, just in a small way, that if you're from one of these three affinities, then you'll understand them to be between the Guild of Magic. There was a war, and there was three different types. One was life, one was death. All of them had something to do with magic for some fucking reason. And then there was this detective. This detective didn't really hate magic, but didn't really respect or love magic. I'm with this detective. So let's just say that I'm not exactly the character you would probably want to root for in this story, or the character that you would like, but I am the person left over to give you this story because of how things ended up working out. It was between the fact that so many people went to war over this big P word, all I can call it. I don't know what else I would call something so greedy and so trivial than the big P word. But what it really is that the detective has to solve a certain type of case, and all of these things are in the fucking way. Now, as you know, what magic is the law and the forces of the universe working to conspire in goal that we may or may not understand. So why that's the enemy of a detective is because it would not make any sense to have such secrecy, or to have enough secrecy in order to just really live life, or to do your fucking case, or to solve the real crime. Now, remember, hypknox is not really a detective, because hypknox knows too goddamn much about why the fuck you did it and really just hates your guts. The other people that are accidentally in the way, of course they have a lot of power and could help, but nor did I ask them, and all I do consider them as a distraction, because most of this is like, why would your power only be in the way of like a real judgment for some case, or something that meant more than these trivial things? So I'll start off the story this way, and by saying this: you are with a fucking detective, and the detective is someone that's hated because you're always unraveling what the secret of magic is, because you don't consider it important. You consider it fucking childish and fucking annoying. But not only that, all the rules of magic still need to be taken care of, or well treated, or part of life, because those are things that we use in life force to keep life preserved, and to keep justice, and to keep, let's say, simple things like symmetry, which is only natural, because how would you crawl around without symmetry? Why is symmetry such an important facet or an infinity to us? Because we would have to crawl around and evolve and become human beings. Without simple symmetry, we probably wouldn't even find enough balance to be able to figure out how to eat, move around, mobility, some basic things. So that's why symmetry is such a facet, or a globally nominable understanding of importance. So by the end of that, you can see how basic that I probably am, and why some things with magic look so grandiose to me that I can't really like compensate anybody about why anyone would do this, or why these things are so important to otherwise make miracles, which is as close as you're getting to me being fascinated, helpful, or respectful of anything that has to do with art, or anything that has to do with magic and art, because ultimately what it means is that you respect the rules of life enough to be able to achieve something greater for life, or was this just you showing off with what you had left over from your craft? So, by the end of it, just remember that the person telling the story is someone who's biased, someone who will never love you, never like you, and never have anything to do with you. and is always willing to break you in the tyranny of what is worth more than what I call this thing to be just showing off, I guess. I don't know. Other than that, like, if you worked so hard to attain any of these fucking things, or these power constructs, understandings, or they're a part of your civil liability for your work tools, then it's like, okay, you have the fair respect of being able to do what you want with those things. But it's still kind of like, how do you reward a world back that works so hard just to keep balance? You can't. You are not ours. You are not our leader. You'll never have anything to do with us, and will never be something that you could love, respect, or treat well, because you really just took the time off from your time to do something even worse with the things that we had labored for, constructed, or embodied these things for life force, or to make them better for life. So in the balance of justice, honor, and truth, you represent nothing to me except for, some radical fucking kid doing some little revolutionary thing every once in a while. Doesn't bother me so much as like your end means, your goal. What do you stand to benefit from this? Did you cost us a lot of time, money, and energy? Does this reflect back on what your real goals in life are? What does this have to do with what you were doing? And was it just simply an act of balancing because you're so good at these here life things that these are versatilities of a unique amount of power and force and amplitude, or a balance of the rules that you've chosen to juggle in front of us to show a supremacy or a secret craft or a secret talent at how good you are at preserving these rules of life and these rules of physics and these rules of science and these rules of force. Now, that may be something that could be true, but very few people would I let it get away in front of me with bending or breaking reality, because as an earthling and as a simple earthling, I'm closer to the detective than actually dealing with your bullshit, because there's a lot of other things that matter in life. So now that we got the first disclaimer out of the fucking way, if you get anything out of this, it's yours. I want you to have it, and I want you to solve this riddle on your own. And if you come up with something and it's something good for you, it may help you defy and raise the bar in life for your personal self, so that these people are not greedy enough to indulge how they run tyranny, either on purpose or by accident, around us. Now, first we're going to be on the side of, okay, there's white magic and there's black magic, and then there is silver magic, and then there's gold magic. Now, technically, silver magic is just white magic, and there's nothing wrong with it, and I do not have a favorable view of white magic, nor do I have a favorable view of black magic. Now, I hate magic in general, but it's not because it's tricked me or done anything to me. I've seen it do a lot of things that I'm like, if that's possible, you could have cured other people, but you took the time to leave the world with fucking problems, homie. Like, of course I may not favor you. That doesn't mean that I backstab you. Of course I help you along the way whenever I can. In fact, we might have been able to be the slave clan that helped you move the Constitution secretly under hidden before it was wrecked or moved some other place. So we don't know, we don't care, but these are the things that come from the rationale of people breaking the fourth wall into what real living is about. So back to what the ultimate word here, and the key word between all of them is balance. Now, black magic isn't what you think it is, and white magic isn't what you think it is. A lot of this shit is other people's confusion and other people's hard work. Now, since I come from the working class of like hardworking people that just don't really say anything, it's like I'm privy to a lot of weird things that I'm just kind of like, that guy released that debt for us because you simply worked hard, or we simply worked hard, or the name is worth a lot, or whatever that was, that you won that duel, so we don't owe them anything, so this is what they had to release to us as an appendix. What the hell kind of shit is this? I didn't want anything from any of this. You mean because we simply did the right thing? This is fucked up. But I'll tell you one thing. Coming from life magic is the dumbest shit I've ever heard of in life, because it's just like, no, I don't owe you sunlight, but it is for free. So why is this guy charging each other for sunlight? You try to charge each other for sunlight? I give that shit away for free. I make light for free. What do you mean you charge each other for it? And then you get there and you see that the civilization has tried to enslave each other with sunlight and basic electricity, and you're just like, oh, Jesus Christ, you're enslaving each other. And then it's like, of course, like the damnation of destruction. I can't even believe I'm the right person for you. And I would damn near destroy you to find out what you had done wrong, because there's no way to take it out of your mind that you found a little toy that you can use as like some like instrument to fuck with people. Luckily, I'm not a light being, I'm an earthling. So I don't really care about that law, and that's not my law to be in balance with you. In fact, some earth beings don't even care about losing sight and going blind and dealing with fighting on a different interstellar plane. Now, even when we're sitting there like, how much does Earth need sunlight? Of course it needs sunlight, somewhat. And of course the other things that are in the universe seem like they're in a tunnel because you're going one direction, because that's the direction that we're all going. So it may not even be another planet, and even if it was another planet, we don't mind sunlight, but do we need it for what you're talking about? And then by the end of it, seeing that you would use these type of things like why Tesla is a good excuse. He's a better excuse than you right now. But like, you know, sunlight to enslave each other, that's not a part of balance. So why don't you just enjoy the other guy's good, honest, hard work, our honest, hard work, and this electrical harness work, and realize that even if they were in slavery or not, I'd have to be a fool to think that they're in slavery, because of course they're kind of not. But since they're in course kind of not in slavery, how dare I try to balance them out or give them something that they don't need or rationalize, because even my parents would have disagreed with it. And my parents weren't special in any way, just kind of quiet, hardworking people that weren't spectacular in any way. But because of when some people, put it this way, if your father was an ergonaut or an agronaut or a giant worker type, as soon as that motherfucker falls asleep, all of the demons that complain and cry and say things when the slave is over is kind of like weird, but like you sit there and you hear this, and sometimes they even talk to you about it or whatever, because they don't know that you're not your dad's thing or whatever the hell that is. So even his, let's say that his disposition would speak to you whenever he's not conscious of it, and they would tell you things by accident. So it's not like they gave me the answer to everything in the world, but their fucking complaints were strong and grotesque. And I've never seen anything or heard anything in my life that was so animalistic to understand in such a basic, prevalent way that I was always kind of shocked and amazed that I'm like, well, at least I know what to do now for him or for you or for the few people that I'm like, that whole day you slaved away and didn't say anything. Now let's talk about white magic, because you already know that there's something crazy or wrong with black magic, but you also know black magic to be profoundly stronger in some weird, weak way. And I'm going to explain that in this different prevalence. Now, this isn't all just about magic. This is all about bending and breaking the laws of reality, and overall, the riddle would be is that the first thing that you need to know about, well, I guess the word would be slavery, because it's not that I'm anti-slavery, it's just that a lot of my different bloodlines are aware of what slavery is, what we're actually supposed to do with all these things, and why none of us hate slavery. We actually enjoy slavery. So it's kind of sad, because it's like the goal is we wanted to build a spacecraft and go to a planet light years away and see how that planet was, and see if we should civilize the planet and proficientize new measures of conducting life at that planet. Now, even if that's been the goal for over a few millennium, I do not know why the fuck it is the stupidest, most caveman basic thing to ever think that it just is, and it's just kind of a simple truth that balance from that would make only sense because that's what you do. You've climbed that mountain, you've seen the sun, you've seen other elements, you've seen all these other things, you've worked for everything, and the only other thing to do is say, hey man, let's go to that other fucking planet once we build this spaceship that can actually do all these things. So you need a spaceship that has 5 appendixes. Now the appendixes would be like, okay, well, you have to travel with your human body. That involves some natural physics. Not all planets have the same physics as us. That's a dud. And then the other part would be that these fucking planes or whatever these type of craft that we're trying to build need to be able to house the best of what our planetarial evolution is. So you would probably want an ecosystem on that type of plane or on that type of aircraft or whatever. Now, this isn't a fucking problem. All of this seems good up to a certain point, except for the fact that the mission is kind of impossible, and for the fact that the spaceship that's required wouldn't require magic, but magic is a key component in figuring out why the laws of physics would never be able to work for such an aircraft in certain ways. So here's the secret to one big thing in life. The airplane that is on your dollar bill, that is carved out of everything. Now, have you ever seen something like fate that's so translucent that the truth is carved around it so much that even when they show you a picture of nothing but everything that the picture means, like you see the temple of the eye, you see the way that it's curved around, you see the denotation in the how long it has to be, or how the shape of the aircraft, and you start realizing that it seems to be carved out of triangles. All of these things could be true, but the apex of what those philosophies are is to comprehend the fact that, like, everything you didn't see in the picture meant everything you didn't see in the picture. So by the end of it, that's what your aircraft looks like. Do you trust yourself enough to be able to have the faith to think or imagine what you think that spacecraft looks like? These are all the things that are poured into our hard work, our ethics, and the meaning of what life is. Now, of course, no one ever really gives away these secrets, but every once in a while, humankind delves off into a place where it runs out of ideas, even its own good ideas. And then there's people just sitting around who remember what they were talking about and want to be able to give them the rest of their answer back so that they can go back to work. But you can't, because secretly all the other things that were sitting there were monsters. So you don't want to talk to them or explain to him his new better idea of where he was working before he had stopped working, because they were literally all evil when we had stopped working. So it's like, well, absolutely not. I'm not going to go and conjure up that fucking thought if you're just going to be wrong with the ideal, or we're going to have to bring evil people with us. Of course not. And yes, I am superstitious that way, and yes, I am weird that way, as in, like, I was one of those kids where, like, if you're not good people, I guess I just lock up and I start doing unbalanced or weird psyche shit with time and space, because it's like one of those things where it's like the baby that you leave it somewhere, it is used to only certain types of people. So as soon as those types of people aren't in the room, it locks up, and it's learned that you are spiritually evil or wrong or just a little bit unbalanced, and it just will not function around you. I don't function around you. I'm that kind of kid. You could just be like, oh yeah, that thing's a genius, but it won't help anybody. Absolutely not. You're fucking evil. You're wrong. You're evil. You're crazy. You're creepy. You didn't even bring me up a religion. You didn't even say anything that made me feel safe about you. I'm not talking about like you have to. I'm talking about nothing was there. So I just kept doing like, well, fuck it. If mankind wants to forget, then I'll be the child of of erasing this shit. You think I won't just throw this shit in the garbage because you killed all the good people? Then rot in hell. I don't give a fuck. I'll throw this shit away like it's nothing. All the magic, all the fucking the truth, all the testimony. I don't give a fuck. I don't even care if it was the detective. Like, solve the case or you know, put up or shut up, because like by the end of it I'm like, you don't even want to solve the case anymore. Where's the balance in that? I chucked him too. Now by the end of it, it's still one of those things where it's like, let's get some things straight for you, because if this ever hits and you ever need to figure out something in life besides how many times we've all been brainwashed, how many times our brains have turned into candle wax and melted and disappeared and we didn't remember what we were supposed to remember, if you're tired of that bullshit, then hypknox has an answer for you. I'm not trying to brainwash you in the wrong. I'm trying to give you a hint. On the side of white magic, you don't know why, and this is how I know it to be, and then I'll tell you why. But for me, deaf, dumb, blind, crippled, numb, and a few other things like blindness, or whatever. But anyways, these can be described in a lot more complex things, but I'm going to keep it very basic in those manners. All these different types of things are used as tools for what white magic can and should be. But you know what really is the real story that I think you should know? All of those people that were blighted into some sort of life, or disabled or crippled, or people that were left behind or suffering, or maybe even caught some diseases that weren't as big and basic as your tools and trade of life. All of those people suffered something in order to protect their leader that long to get that far, and that's called magic. And on the other side of things, in the other world of black magic, there was something called a giant ignorance. So what things you were ignorant of could have been things that could have been magic and could have been better than anything that you knew, because you were always ignorant. So every new thing was better. So when you discovered how touch works, when you discovered how feeling works, when you discovered how all of these things can be reversed in complex, these are new discoveries. So these aren't acts of blindness or acts of affliction. These are all acts of things that are growing the new nature of what life might be. So they're not even truly innocent, and they're not truly guilty. They might even be demons from another world. They might even be other life forms that never developed life because of, one, ignorance. Two, they may not have even been in balance enough to be able to create, to get the further understanding or comprehension of what life actually was, and became other types of beings who usually our moral intellectualism isn't what you think it is. Like, we all think that people are born innocent. We are made innocent. The nature of animal and the nature of primalistic behavior actually works a lot different. You ate it because you could. It's really more like the fucking internet. It's like, because it can do something stupid, it does, and it learns from that and becomes either better, stronger, or more palatable in those ways. So life and the laws of reality don't actually work the way that you think they do, or the way you think they should do. Like, we all just inherited this here goodness and bullshit. So anyways, I'll get back more to that for a balanced conversation for a moment, because I just want to explain a little bit of both. But on the white side, because I'm really talking about white magic. Now, I don't hate white magic, and I hate all magic, but I don't hate white magic more than I do any other magic. It's just one of those things where I want to focus on, because often it's looked at as a good thing. And then most of the time that I see people bend and break the laws of reality and of white magic and different types of magic in order to lift and provide a higher peak to our formidable understanding about life, its development, how we grow, and all these other things. Why this particular breed and type does not care about vision so much, but also no one needs to be or wants to be blind, because the spectral anomaly that vision actually is occurred within something that we know about magic. So for us, it's kind of like, what's your problem with sunlight? You guys seem to like it more than we do. So I don't know, but yes, I'm from one of those other offsides, so I can't really tell you like why my opinion is so biased. But when you start to realize that I'm older in that way intellectually than both of the things that we're talking about, you'll realize why, like, these punk ass kids want to run Earth into the fucking ground of like being less than and in slavery for something that we've never really cared about. And that's why we never really fought off any of those things. It's like, oh, you earn life because it's normal to evolve into what you're supposed to be doing, or the things that you're supposed to be doing, to the most point where it's like, oh, you hate us because we gave you a new organ. Oh, you hate us because we gave you a new bone. What if we're just used to that bullshit and we don't even know or care, and we can't call it innocent or guilty of anything? We're just like, you gonna need this organ. I don't know why, but it's helping you eat dinosaur meat. We don't fuck know why. It just must happen, and we must keep going because we have to build this stupid fucking this UFO or whatever the fuck, so that we can get to another planet and see if they have any more important news for us than why the fuck we're always failures of everything that you all kept doing weird shit. I don't know. You think we're doing weird shit, but like, this is the bone that they said we were supposed to have, and this is the fucking the thing that we're supposed to have. Now, I know this is stupid, and I know that a lot of people are like, somebody got to be bullshitting us here. Let me tell you something. What if these little like hollow complaints in the background of your life are so normal for me that none of us said anything? We didn't say anything because we were just like, of course you want to grow back a new finger. Let's just shut the fuck up. These people can grow back stuff for us. Or like, we could just do this for our family. Or we already know how to do it. So like, yeah, we agree with them, but we don't know why we need it yet. So maybe we'll walk that road when everybody seems balanced and shit. But for right now, you on the side of white magic, and you're trying to blind me. And sometimes I'm sitting there and I'm like, do you ever like see how funny life is? Because it's not like we're invincible or indestructible. Of course not. But not to some things anyway. But when it's like you're giving us one of your problems because you're mad at us for no reason, and I'm supposed to help you because you gave me your fucking problem. It doesn't always work that way. You looking for somebody else in my lineage or something, because I wouldn't just help you because you tried to fuck me over. Sorry that I'm new and modern and shit, but like, you try to fuck me over, I got nothing to do with you. Like, I'm gonna leave your ass right there, and you can go suffer. The problem with that is that they like to pass on their plagues and their afflictions until they either get an answer, or the fact that they're already right that they shouldn't have had a fucking problem, and the only thing I have to do is remove that problem. But they like giving each other fucking problems, and I don't fucking know why. Now, even when I'm sitting there and I'm watching white magic purposely make a mistake every few hundred years or something, or every, what it felt like for them to have a few hundred years, because if it's been 100 years since the last time you had a problem, it would still be just as weird in the modern day world. They use everything that you have more often than what they used to use it at. So every 100 years or something is now every like every 45 seconds or something, or like whatever. Or you saw that little piece of like oil slick come off of your eye and then just disappear from you, and it like just seemed to like float the fuck off. And I'm like, okay, nobody else knows what that is. All right, let me just keep that one to myself. Squiggly eye fluid, squiggly thing in my eye fluid. Oh, how long have you been there? And it's like, whatever. But we'll talk about that one day. If you figure out any of these clues, we'll talk on a different installment in secrecy, because you'll remember that. No one else will. And when we do, you'll have your answer, and all the other people that wondered that will have their fucking answer. And most of them will understand that to be something modern and scientific like a fat cell, or something being dissolved in, like, you eat too much nuts and there's oil there, and it's just like kind of eating oil from your vision, but it's also kind of healthy to have some oil. So whatever and whatever. But by the end of it, it's still kind of like, you do know there's a reason that, like, life is kind of like not really conscious, but your life came to consciousness to fix something. Don't you think that's a little bit alarming? So you have to go exercise, clean some stuff up, maybe not have exactly a cup of water, because that makes you more dry than the oil that it may have used to eat. But that's a hint on, like, okay, it's not that big of a deal. But there is a thing that's like, did something just try to fix me? Is my body, like, trying to fix me? And, like, yes, your body tries to fix you from time to time, but I wouldn't fuck around with it or asking any real deep questions. It's just fixing you for what it knows how to automatically fix, not for anything complicated that you want to come up and ask it, like, is it okay to eat gold and metal and shit? Well, of course not. Eventually you're going to get sick and die. You don't eat things like that. But, like, let's just say that, like, a lot of stupid things could come to your mind that aren't even your own thoughts, so you might as well ignore that one before you think stupid things, and then you'll be caught in a series of stupid events that are just even worse than going blind with something. Now, let's go back to what I really mean. All of these different rules on the side of dark or black magic and white magic all have these extenuatory cases of people that have made sacrifices for what the true balance of life is. So let's say when we were all, and this is our last known, or, like, this isn't exactly documented, but it is documented. It's just not historically documented because it's seen as prehistory. So back in, let's say, I wouldn't say Eros, but you would know Eros. We would know, put it this way, we would know Nemesis or Sin. So on our side of things, and whether it's, like, remember, whether these things are our gods or not is not something we debate, because we knew what we were doing. So even when you get confused and think, oh, their god is Sin and Nemesis, no, but whoever the hell won that popularity contest, we didn't care at the time. It was like, we're just going to walk down the street and keep making these here organ things and eating food, because they don't like us eating food and we like to eat some fucking food. And they're crazy because they keep trying to get us to stop eating rocks and shit, and we're as stupid as that Rockweiler in your backyard that just randomly gets hungry and eats fucking rocks and random shit and then pukes or whatever, or then tries a different organ out on it and sees if it can digest it. That's how stupid we are. Now, even when you want to sit there and be like, oh God, you cannot be on the side of light, you a little bit correct about that, but you're also a little bit wrong, because that light god motherfucker does not like eating. He's not known to be an eater. He is a giver. He's a carer and a nurturer and a giver, but it's still kind of like, I don't remember liking to touch things either. Now, before I dealt with him, I liked to touch things. So the God and light and me aren't enemies, but let's just say that you have the right to reproduce without my opinion or his opinion. Because they like to put our types in a room and see why both of us will only agree that they have the right to go and, like, you know, do certain things, or we deny them birthrights at sometimes. And I'm like, this is an old school truth. And it's like a very tribal old school truth. And it's like, we're not exactly aliens or anything, but anything that old or anything that wise to what's going on, because I wouldn't consider it wise or intelligent either, but anything that basic would be, like, able to tell you that, like, well, yeah, we just did things differently, and now you're asking us to all share humanity together and agree with each other at the rules. And I don't care, because we can't always agree on the fact that, like, you didn't want a new organ, you didn't want fucking kidneys, you didn't want any of this stuff. And then after a while, yes, you are correct, but we don't know who was trying to poison us for a few hundred years. We don't even know who the new person was at the fucking time that was providing us extra forms of life that we had to get used to not being sick of or something. You know what I'm saying? So let's put this into a spectrum of balance for you. we're not your fucking friend. But put it this way, all of us are here to have a good time and to survive. And I don't even mind him or the other one. But then when it all adds up to like, don't ask me too many fucking questions, because I've been telling you what we've been doing for 1,000 years is putting new fucking stuff on this scrap heap, testing it out until it's able to survive and then keep going. So it's like we're building the fucking, spaceships and shit. And I'm like, okay, so the end goal was supposed to be a fucking spaceship. Okay? You know that. I know that. Get with the times. You don't have to read the newspaper. You know this instinctively. As you grow up and no one is talking to you in your fucking head, no one knows what any of this is about. You instinctively know eventually those freaking Egyptians or those Mesopotamians or those what are they called? I forget the goddamn pronunciation of it. The Ankalaeans. What the fuck were they called? The Akanakis. All of these different like tribes and races. Even when you're sitting there, you're just like, God damn it, I hate being the missing link, and I wish I could comment on all this stuff. But it's so simple, because in our tribe, every single time that I turn back and I look and I ask my other spiritological or integral philosophical parents by accident, you know that little thing you do when you're sitting there and like people are talking about the Egyptians so much that you're like, oh crap, I'm black, I better not say anything because they don't remember whether we're black or white. And then I'm like looking and I'm like, okay, they still think black people are a little bit demons. Okay, that's normal, but I shouldn't respond. And then the next thing you know, it's like the giant question is like, what would the Akanaki have done? Besides the one time we tried to make our brains bigger in order to hold more memory and then figure out that it wasn't a spiritual creed to do so. Okay, we don't do that anymore. Yeah, but also the part where we have extra organs and all this other weird ass shit, or like, hip girdles and this different type of stuff. Why you deleted your hip girdles, I don't know. To this day, I don't know. We don't know. But let me tell you what my other parents said. You know what they actually said? They actually said, we the hell don't know. We just keep building extra stuff for humanity, and they just keep using it in a certain way, or wanting to delete it and not wanting it. And we're not supposed to be in an argument. We just are like, we better get back to work, because they're going to be deleting our golden gallbladders or some weird shit from like why we needed those for a different type of poison that doesn't exist yet, or like we've seen that poison before. We're not deleting making this shit because it's supposed to be constructively a manual labor to the fact that we'll never suffer again because we keep adapting to this shit. Who the fuck would delete something that's like, nah, I remember you tried to poison us, we're gonna go ahead and keep these things. Now of course I have to agree with them, and of course the more often they do weird shit like that, the more I have to go and agree with them, even though it seems crazy to be like, fuck it, we'll take those frog livers, and then we start working on that, and it's like, alright, cool, those things aren't as hallucinogenic as they were before, or they like us now, so I don't know how often they're gonna want to play with us in poison terms. So we don't know, we don't care, and we're not the ones that are like as evil as what you think, but that's literally all we do is eat, and they hate us for it. So when you get back to the real true spectrum of balance, it's kind of like, neither one of you like eating as much as we do, so I guess we're just that fucking stupid, evil-ass psychological creature that just keeps eating things. So I don't know, whatever, that's what I'm stuck with. That's what my curse is. But on the other curses side of like, when these two get into some kind of a magic testimonial argument, and they like to duel throughout the years and shit. I'm not the fucking referee, but I'll tell you one thing. Pulling those two apart from a goddamn fight and realizing that both of them use everything that they've ever made as mistakes as weapons and curses against each other to destroy each other, those aren't an act of life to us. Why am I telling you this story this way? Because I want you to take into consistency that when you trust black magic, white magic, or any other magic, you're dealing with a lot of weird bullshit. So when you're sitting there and you're going blind, and you're going a certain type of blind, and you're being blighted, it's not that you have to go and deal with this fucking curse a certain way, or fight it off, or reflect it a certain way, which is what some people are taught and trained in high levels of other parts of magic to deal with white magic about, or what I'll call silver magic. But let's just say that, like, no matter what you do, eventually, white magic is still just something so strong that it becomes its own element. So in that element, all the rules of the supremacy element, or the elements that reign supreme for these things that you're doing tactically on both sides, would all reign out to the fact of, like, and I say this for white magic because this is one of those things where I'm just like, I can't believe that to this day people are still ending up in the hospital with a lot of stuff that we cured, or that is known to be curable, or is stuff that they shouldn't have done, or is a curse from some other place. And I'm just like, why won't you save them? Why won't you try to save them? And then when I go in there, I have to be a whack job, an idiot, a stupid motherfucker, an ignorant dumbass brute. In order to try to fix them, I have to pinch their wrist. I have to figure out what their blood pressure is. I have to do all these other things. And I'm not talking about like just basic medical securance. I'm talking about like, I'm looking for something completely different, because you're looking about like, all right, well, how proficient or strong is this person? And why is this person stronger than their own death? So they're like, their heart is faint, but their blood pressure is higher than their consciousness. What kind of shit is that? Now, even when that's like, okay, well, of course that's possible, but there's little hints to me that I'm just like, you're possessed by something. And then when I start looking at other things and I'm like, you're definitely possessed by something. This isn't even the person that they're in love with. This is how they always acted. And then I start asking them different questions about how they act and this and that and all this. Now, I know people would be like, none of this is real. You're just fucking with us. No. This is so common that you think I'm fucking with you by giving you an answer to something that's unsolvable. I can't fucking help you because you might be a little bit confused on the fact that you should at least try some of this stuff to figure out where the fuck you are. Because sometimes it's just like, some people are so evil and so unbalanced and so off the marker that like they'll just randomly pick people in fate and use them as tools. Now, let's say you were in a fight or in a duel, and let's say you were fighting me, and all of a sudden, like, you try to blind your fucking opponent. And this shit works for different fucking reasons, of course. But in what really angers me is that, okay, I'm removing the blindness, but why am I not removing the blindness for so long? So I got about 30 or 40 seconds while you're like scrimmaging on how you're gonna attack me with your next, projectile or whatever the fuck your inflictation is, or whatever the fuck that it is, or your next curse. I'm sitting there and I'm like, do you know why it took me so long to get out of that blindness? It's not because I couldn't just cure it within less than a second or two about what those things were. I actually took the time to fish around through fate of where that person was, because you used somebody as a dull dummy and you fucking plagued them with something, and then you put their soul on top of me and tried to lock them over me and blinded me for a second. I took the time to figure out who that person was, where they were, what they were doing at the time, how they got sick in this way, how you fucking did it, blocked off your next access to fate, and then cured the fucking person and got out of there in less than 40 seconds and proceeded to lock you into position and then put you in a brute tactic point hold and told you to swear their soul back to them. That's what I don't like about some of you disgusting motherfuckers, because you think because you have the right and the power or the wisdom and the intellect that you can take advantage of the world and the universe in order to do what the fuck you think you do, and you think everybody's just a brute dumb idiot. I am from brute. Yes, I do have an appetite. Yes, I do eat things. Yes, we are hunters and weird tribal people. But when it comes to the truth of the fucking matter, if you cheat, and what you did is cheat because you provided yourself an unbalance and an uncourtesy to yourself and to life in order to dominate and inflict slavery on other fucking people, and we would have worked for you for free. So that's the weird part about watching all of these people act out on each other in fucking ignorance and not understand the whys of that. Guess what, buddy? We don't even fucking need you. We did all that shit for free. We worked for you for free. We just wanted you to be able to go live. You know why? Check this here shit out. And there's certain things we can't cure because the modern day world is so advanced that your problems are too great for us to deal with in some ways, except for that we have to do it as a family, or it takes more than one person to cure it spiritually, so we can't throw like a seance or do old school things for you because we've been mocked and harassed out of what modern day balance is, to the point where you won't come party with us so that we can throw a ceremony for you that doesn't feature only a sacrifice in another country, that would be coming as close as it could to curing weird different answers that are supposed to relieve you of things that you're not supposed to be suffering from. Like put it this way, what's that thing called, what's it called? Diabetes. Like diabetes and different things like that you're not supposed to be suffering from. On our side, we like to eat, right? Now, what if there's this one fighter who only eats pure sugar and eats a small amount of it, but every time he like bum rushes fate and uses it incorrectly, he accidentally dumps sugar in on you, and he's one of our family members, and he keeps dumping sugar on us by accident. It took us a few years to figure out. It's like, damn, son, you were accidentally dropping sand in us. Because by that time, it's already digested. There isn't a matter for it at that point. But at that point, it's still something. So it might as well be sand in your body that's kind of causing diabetes. And you know what diabetes is really caused from. So that's not exactly accurate. But the way that we have to go to translate this for you and to document that, like, we don't know what that is. And we don't know why some of your limbs and extremities go numb and do things like that. We do know in a magic way, but in a modern day world, it's like you're forcing us to translate something that isn't true. And it's like if we try to tell you the other way, you would be saying that we're forcing you to translate something that isn't true. But we don't know how it got there, and we don't know where your mistake is coming from. And some people like to lie to us, especially the modern day world, where it's like, no, I don't eat any sugar. I don't eat that much sugar. Well, enough sugar is enough sugar to do that. So anyway, by the end of it, we can't form the antibodies or the things that you're supposed to be able to fight back these normal candida diseases. So you know what the answer is in the modern day world? Get big, like our tribe. If you've ever seen those type of brownies or brown people that are big, like, put it this way, we'll all remind you of Muhammad Ali. If you've ever seen that army or those type of gold people, you're on the right side. Remember to eat a lot of food and to exercise, because these people don't know what the fuck is going on, and everything has been formatively cured to a certain extent. You just have to keep up with us and the basics, or football or some kind of sport. It will help you. Always have an athlete in the fucking family. It's not so that you can put shit on them. Never put anything on them. But I'm just saying that it's a good thing, because you will always be above and beyond the fucking curve. Now, I say this because somebody tried to psychically attack me like a day and a half ago with something that was so ancient that I was like, white magic? Why would white magic attack me? I'm good with them. Like, me and white magic is good like that. We best buddies. And then I'm sitting there and I'm just like, holy shit, dude, like, this guy's going blind. What's he doing here? And, you know, like, I'm sitting there and I'm just thinking, like, whether or not, like, I was in a duel with somebody else or something, this shouldn't be something that comes up again. And I'm just like, is this shitty, clever way of this person asking me for help? Or does this person not really realize that, like, they're trying to, like, you know, destroy a part of your connection with life? And I'm sitting there and I'm kind of like, oh my God, these fucking blue people, man. And like, even when blue people are like, I like to work, I like to be busy, I just need somebody to stop bothering me. But you're the one who started shit with them, and now you want them to not bother you. You bothered other people that have enough time to sit there and fuck with you. I'm not fucking with you because I'm just not that type. I'm not the type of person that gets in people's way and does things, but you thought it was cool to just put something on me and then let me hold it for a little bit until you had enough break time to go back to war with them. Well, that's not what my job is. That's not what I thought you were doing. That's not what's right for life. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. So eventually I'm your enemy if you don't stop. But by the end of it, it's still kind of like, I have a lot of patience and tolerance for things, but you know what I'm into? Eating. And you know what I'm into? Curing things. And you know what I'm into? Surviving things. So even if I seem immortal or invincible at times, don't you think that there's certain things that I just don't fight about? There's certain things that should just be relieved. There's certain things that you should be aware of. And there's certain things that I can't believe that you would do that to you, some other opponent, or just out of spite for somebody who thinks differently from you, when that's what you two's problem was, that you both thought differently. So as I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to put together a different cure, and then I'm going to wait for this to go back to a different route, and then hopefully you won't do this again. If I have to watch the person do it again, I could taint you right back, because I'm not sure that you even know how to cure this or deal with it. You just seem like one of those motherfuckers that is willing to let this kind of bullshit happen to life. And I'm like, dude, remember, if we were walking all the way across the half of the fucking planet, past dinosaurs and predators and evil ass fucking shit, and all we're doing is fixing each other and picking up what we can and keep repairing and keep walking to the next place where we're supposed to camp out, just to simply go camping. To go camping. When was the last time you just went fucking camping? So then by the end of it, it's just like, go camping every once in a while or something, try to keep up. Because by the end of it, it's just like, these people are so heartless and evil sometimes that I'm like, magic what? You mean the other slavery word? Magic used to be the word that meant slavery, like get in line, we're gonna go like do something stupid for each other, and it still never worked out, because it was always like, why do you always want us to do something crazy? You never want us to do anything like that makes fucking sense. It's like, go over there and explode. And I'm like, dude, you in this irrational waste of life shit, and then the fact that you never have an appetite, or you never want to eat around us, like you're better than everything in life, or worse regard, that you might actually think that, or the fact that, like, why don't you eat? Why can't you trust anything? And now, even when we all eat and we all do some stuff, it's still kind of like, are you afraid of eating a frog? Are you afraid of eating this food? Because it's not that, like, of course no one wants to eat a frog. It's not our favorite food. Of course I don't like chicken that fucking much, but I don't tell you. But then when it comes to the greater fact of all of it, you are afraid to eat some things because of what? And then it's more suspicious for me to be suspicious of you. So I don't do that to you, because it's like, okay, you've chosen a lifestyle that you're fine with. I've chosen a lifestyle that I'm fine with. So I'm not going to interfere with that, because that's a part of you having your own balance. I'm not going to accuse you of being an alien, because I'm like, well, you're probably not an alien. And in the eyes of them seeing fit, they're more satisfied with your behavior than my behavior. And that includes the other animals and other species and things like that. Nobody wants to be eaten. So of course I lose all those things. But when it comes to the fact that you are afraid to evolve with other things, or do things that are borderline scary to survive, it's kind of like, why are you afraid of life when we're always going to have to live with this kind of fear? Or why do you fuck with the mechanics of life to the point where you can't pay back each other's actual regards for fixing this shithole outside of us exercising all the time and working out a lot? So I'm like, I'm not even one of the ones that exercises the most, so I actually have to sit there and deal with my problems and fix it, or share information with you about it, because, like, this is how I cured it, this is how you should get around it, because that ain't no fucking sugar. When it wasn't sugar, it was like, oh shit, you got some problems, bro. White magic got a problem with you. And, like, you know, when it's my thing, it's kind of like, all right, we're gonna have to get rid of this sugar buster eater, because somebody out there is just eating sugar and sand and shit, and like forcing us to juggle petty metals and shit, and we don't know the fuck why. So we gotta get rid of that dude before we turn green, or start changing orange and shit. And then we start changing colors and shit if we don't deal with it, if we didn't like die or suffer some ambiguous problem from that bullshit. And I'm just like, you still kind of got to figure out what that is, because people that work out with each other, sometimes they don't want to work out with each other, because I don't work out with anybody either. But the other ones that spiritually work out together, sometimes it's just like, wow, you didn't really want to work out with him. Shit, I don't want to work out with him too, but I'm going to fix him up, send him on his way, because it seems like he just wants to go back and work camp with you all. So I'm like, there's no way to talk to him because we don't speak a language to each other. We don't actually talk to each other. So it's like, I'm not really talking to anyone right now. I'm just displaying this to myself, I guess, for my own fucking memory or something that I know that I'm like, if nobody else understands this bullshit, magic is a sorry slave driving piece of shit, and I hate the motherfucker. But if you ever wonder why this type of earthling has a war on magic and bars magic and his civilization, just remember, like, this might seem fictional to you, but the war on magic is a very real weird thing. Like, why do you need to discipline me for something that I'm not doing to you? And especially when I'm not giving you the organs that you don't need to survive me. I'm not doing the same sport as you or whatever the fuck that is. Like, you know, being a nerd is fucking difficult. Especially being a brute nerd is fucking difficult. Because I'm like, I swear to you, this will heal. Now, of course, it's going to heal with a scar, but you need this scar in order for it to heal correctly. Now, there's a way of getting it to heal without a scar, but we don't know why the hell you would do something so wrong to yourself in order to not regrow skin growth. Your body refuses to grow this scar. Now, of course, you don't need a scar, and of course, it can heal without a scar, and there's ways to make lesser scars so that it's unnoticeable and rejuvenates kind of normal and clean. Now, you may have watched this one movie where this guy takes, like, you know, it's like a plant matter that kind of is like flour and turns into this kind of clay thing that you can use as a bandage, but it actually leaves a giant scar, and you need a certain type of digestive system in order to use that. Like the severity of being hungry, because your lactation eats that debris and forms it into something that it can use to rebuild skin. Those things and those kind of healings that aren't exactly synthetic are closer to synthetic healing. Now, even when I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, synthetic healing is illegal and that's a sin, I don't know, but by the end of it, it's still one of those things where, like, that's something that will leave a giant evil looking scar if it doesn't heal correctly. So we don't use those methodologies anymore because it doesn't actually heal correctly. The point being is that it does not heal correctly, so we don't do it anymore. So being blamed for that is kind of like, God, you like giving us a giant mistakes back. But it's like, sure, some of them are our mistakes, but some of those are mistakes that I'm like, why were you watching so hard being inflicted from something that we know we cured on someone else? So we know who's the type we cured, and we know what type we cured, so we know how to find that type of person. So why are you involved in it if you're not that type of person? So why are you still mad at it if it was something that we probably couldn't cure anyway, and we cured it up to the extent that we could, and not how we relieved you of everything like we were miracle workers? Sorry, we can't cure everything that fucking way. Sorry that the skin grew back braided. Now, sometimes the skin grows back like it has signs in it that it was repaired. We don't know why the human body does that, but it's its way of reaching around the things that were there healing in order to try to repair itself, so it looks like, well, normally they would call those scars, but in this other way that the body has learned how to heal, it kind of like tries to braid itself back to something that it never had before. So some of that's coming from the layout of how it grows on top of muscle tissue. So hence your scar, or hence whatever was there that made it grow back ungenetically or dramatically. So we don't know, we don't care, and of course that's not how germs work in this universe. In the other universe where germs work that way, yes, it can grow back without a scar, but training germs and training I don't have a word for it, because in this world you would call it chi, but your chi definitely doesn't do that, and it'll just make it worse because your chi doesn't know what to do. The people that were deleted long ago who knew how to heal these things that way, they actually knew what they were doing. Sometimes they would lay their dead souls or their incarnated souls over top of each other until the product healed. Some people would just poke at it until it fucking healed. I'm not talking about like literally. I'm talking about spiritually spiritually or with their chi. Now, all of this stuff kind of works, but you mean like actual like rejuvenation, like, you know, what's it called? Oh man, reproduction or a replication. Those things that grow back in that beautiful robotic, like craftsmanship type of way, even with tattoos in them. I'm not talking about like full-on tattoos, but you know what I'm talking about. Like what is that? Is that a holy seal? And they grow back in that really beautiful way. All of those things were done by skilled technicians that, guess what? You know why I'm mad? They were killed off by people like that. I don't like magic because you cost us too fucking much. And you know what? Maybe that's my personal fucking opinion. So let's get back to square root one of this. You have things that are like, all right, you have 5 or 6 senses. You have more senses than that. You have more like 12 or 13 senses, but all of those senses belong to another reality where you have learned the heightened being of understanding what maybe chi is, maybe what food actually is, and maybe some of the other things that you're doing in time and space that go unnoticed 24/7, other than that you probably shouldn't be trying to rationalize too much of this hearing auditory hallucination shit. So by the end of it, it's like more crazy out there than helpful, because it's like every time that you destroy one of those technicians or type of people, it doesn't actually rejuvenate. It doesn't just come back out of nowhere. It's not like, oh, there's another family member left, let's see if they know how to do this technique. Guess what? They're gone. Guess what? Some of them even left this universe because they didn't want to be with us. Guess what? We're stuck. I only know of 2 families that aren't arguing anymore that still have hidden healing techniques and how to heal things, and they use fabric. So like they use fabric in a very unique way. So band-aids are closer to truth than you worrying about what I might secretly be doing. But like, you know, either way, these things are all immaculate, beautiful foundings of technology, and as soon as you learn about it, it doesn't seem that fucking amazing. But let's just say that you can heal with different types of cloth and linen, and why those things are very important for people that are healing. Your body eats certain things. Some things are organic, some materials are man-made, some things have too much chemicals in it. Those are part of your secrets to your next things. But like when it comes to like things that will always be gone, like healing seals or sealing factors, gone. You know, like you killed those fucking people off. But anyways, that's not why I'm just mad at white magic and black magic. But on the side of black magic, where yes, it is technically evil, and all magic is evil to me anyway, but well, technically it is evil, but let's just say that like their evolutionary points are farther few in between. Some of them evolved from nothing, so that means that they're not bringing as many mistakes in. If you know how to call a being into a fruition or a non-affliction, would be preferable. But like if you know how to, you might be able to get someone without mistakes. But then by the end of it, what are they going to be slave to? You know what I'm saying? You're asking like how you're going to let this person go. Now, what if I'm sitting here and you're with one of those people that's like, oh my God, we freed the genie at the end of that fucking movie. Well, yeah, duh. So that's what you're with. Now, the other part is that like, why do you want to keep him working for you forever? That's scary, because here's the thing. We don't even mind slavery in the work. Secondly, it's all about working to make a better balance to humankind, because, you know, we could travel around and eat some more and have fun, but that's wrong for you for some fucking reason. Fucking know what's wrong with them. Now, even though I'm technically a savage and I'm wrong about everything, and it's like, even when you ask the rest of the universe, it'll be like, you eat too much. And of course, our clan eats a lot of food, but we're gonna have to heal faster than them, the way that they trying to talk about us, about making, talking to us about making stupid purposeful mistakes. So by the end of it, that's what magic is, a purposeful mistake to bend the reality of the universe beyond where it was. And the real reason why is Here's the pop quiz class, because all of that is to describe that we have a new peak, a new parallel, a new element, a new constructive force, a new understanding, and a new embodiment of how we can perceive life, or a technique for granting better life. Like, you know how they came out with, like, what's it called? I forget what the hell it's called. Red vision or something, or night vision, red vision, temperature vision, like all these different types of vision. What if, like, okay, that's not magic, but even if you know how to process that magically, one day somebody figured out that this was possible in theory. Then magically somebody probably was like, oh yeah, I know how that works. And then they figured out how to do it, which is possible. But remember, if I'm telling you black magic, no one liked black magic. So check out this. In black magic, before we had the ability of what actual vision was, we had this other type of temporal vision, let's say. I'm going to say temporal vision because it's like we did not know what was going on unless we were actually living. So everything was braided from the fabric of reality. Now, I'm going to say that in this way because it's like that's the only way I can translate to you how I know and why I do know this. Now, of course, I said that, like, most of my other beings are plants. So what I've learned from plants is different. So even when they have a secret hidden history of their relationship with us and why they hate us, or why they do like us somewhat, or why my relationship with them is just really weird and complicated. But when it comes to, oh yeah, we don't see what you're talking about, Master, it's one of those things where the answer back is like, that's what they remember about me, you, and humanity. But like, god damn, if you ever just been listening to other life forces and they tell you shit and you're just like, god damn, I hate us. But it's still kind of like one of those things where it's like, what am I supposed to do with that? But let's just say that so far, once upon a time in another kingdom where we didn't have humanity anyway, the evolutionary site was different. So it grew by touching and feeling and growing out. I'm not talking about like in a human way, is the way human beings would think that they're doing that just always seems disgusting every time they try to imitate it. So let's say that the way that they comprehend things is that I am concrete because I am concrete. Now, of course, some things are man-made. It doesn't know what you're talking about. It'll probably make an organic form of it. And no, this is not your answer from hypknox on how to get a bunch of free stuff by, you know, making it yourself from magic. No, anything that you make from magic looks like crap because it always looks like that because it's an organic or a normal answer from life about what it thought that that object was, because that's a man-made object. It's not real to it. It doesn't know what it is. It just knows that you like it, that it was something that you comprehended. This is how its translation of comprehending it was to it, and that it felt all those things. You ever know that those deaf mute type of people are just kind of intelligent in a really weird way? Sometimes even when they don't know it or they're ignorant of it, they're related to another being that can understand the matter of things. And the matter of things is like they can probably bring things to life. Like, put it this way, like you could just make a tree appear, like 1,000-year-old tree appear that hasn't appeared in 4 or 5 circle or earth represented revolutions. Now, if you know the planet Earth is billions of years old and this shithole has only died a few fucking times and been reborn, then of course that seems a little bit fraudulent and off, but according to history. But in all the places where life dies and comes back to Earth, it still would be like, oh, the god of Earth is Earth itself, and when it forgot and died somewhere, it eventually healed by healing from what it remembered about being Earth. Now, let's just say something like that so that you know that when your cells in your body and all these things regenerate or grow, it's because it remembers what you were and what you were, or what it was, or how to repair those things up to a certain extent. Sometimes there is no fucking answer because there is no fucking answer on, like, it just don't remember what that was that you're trying to repair, and it just remembers to grow cells there that may not even look like anything but but scar tissue. So you'll have to find a new, different way of fixing it by using fake skin, or, you know, you've seen that type of skin that they make up for people that have been burned horribly or whatever. And you get some kind of a grafting fake skin or fiber in order to heal that way, so that in a modern day world, in a modern day comprehension, with what we are biologically not stemmed from as a potential mistake or incorrect graft, we grow back. Now, even though your body is taught to fight off all these things, it can't fight off making a circle of something that is technically dirty enough to be in the way of the job. So it has to fight that back while growing things. So the regeneration always looks like a mistake of air and fiber and decescent molecules that all can affect how this thing heals. Now, I'm telling you that because that's more important than, like, why do you need to know this? What is this all about? You're not conjuring invisible beings. No, these are all fucking things that could have gone wrong with something that should have healed perfectly fine and well. And we're talking about relieving as much scar tissue as possible so that you actually get a nice, beautiful heal to anything that happens to you. It's just a better way of healing, and it's a technique that isn't in a first aid kit, and it should be. So whatever. Anyway, just something I thought I should add in there while I'm talking about this shit. Now, even when we're sitting there and we've lost sight of really my condemnation of white magic and black magic, let's get back to the truth of the formality. All of those curses that are in white magic, I don't know why it's the good magic. All the curses that are in black magic, I don't know why they had profoundly more or less and mostly ignorance, outside of the fact that their slavery for either one of each other starts to look like one of you or both of you were into a lot of weird ass forms of slavery, and I can't figure out why you wouldn't let life fight its way out of it, other than that, yes, randomly beings aren't supposed to be pronounced or come into life without the demand or the supply and demand or the meaning of what those things were supposed to be worth or valuable to life. So you are learned, taught, and given a life as a gift from something that means something to fight for. So it's really awkward for men to fight for something that has no meaning, or why men even do anything at all. Like, how am I going to pay you back, homie? You ever notice that all men are crippled by that thing? What if it's a psychological defect that's actually perfect for us to not even be an embodiment of the wrong type of life that no one was looking for? No one was looking for this here life. They don't even know. And it's like weird because it's like that creature or that thing doesn't know what you're talking about. And if it knows some predatory things that are already a crippling part of what it is to live with the legacy of what life has actually been humbled by, taught by, learned by, or has raised itself into as a craft. So you ought to be really fucking careful, because bringing yourself back to a resurrection isn't really the ideal complex of a goal, because it's exceedingly difficult to leave any part of you in reality anywhere, let it be constructed or understood by anything later on, let alone yourself being in no intuitive or ingenuitive or intuitive understanding at all to what correlates with how life becomes into an existence. So either that or you never really died. So you never really fully died. So whatever the hell that is, possible, weird, scary, doesn't come the way that you think it is. If it does know, it's already far beyond where you think it is and is already ready to bite your fucking hand. So you better be fucking careful with it. It's one of those things where life already knows, then it definitely is already older than what you're talking about or what you're confused about. So we get back to the other point of this. What's wrong with black magic? The same thing as white magic, except for there's a few different rules. Paralyzation, or numbingness, and which is still on the other side too, but like, who the hell would care when both of you would end up being gray anyways half of the fucking time? But let's just say that, like, numbing, paralyzation, forgetfulness, and I'm talking about these are the curses of black magic. what you did wrong was too short of an achievement to the point where you don't remember to have a conscious embodiment of what you're actually supposed to do or get done with your goals. So ultimately, madness and chaos is an affliction of black magic. And that's the reason why. And more importantly than that, the things that you have to give up in order to imply what absolute power, force, in doing your things on your own as a man implies, that these jobs aren't things that you can do alone, and you must have a support structure system or some basis of memory for any of these things. And these people have sacrificed far more than their own memory and what they have implied about life in order to attain such, you know what, self-deprecation, I want to say, but not dominant, what is this the fucking word? Self-discipline, to the point where it's beyond the human understanding that black magic is possible, because you have mastered a form of discipline that can only be harbored in an ill-formed way to life. And that's why you only possess bad things or ill memory, or why you know how to leap through time and do a lot of other weird things that can't really apply to us, because time and black magic are friends, but they're not really friends in a good way. Like, you don't remember your life because you live like a vampire. So there's a lot of things that black magic has curses of too, but if you recognize any of those things, you should be betting against it and eating it, or doing whatever the fuck you think that I would have done with it, which secretly, I told you I'm not the good guy in the story. I eat those things. I eat other things. I eat these apparitions. I don't like ghosts. Ghosts aren't even the worst enemy. They're probably the angels of all that bullshit. But by the end of it, well, yeah, somewhat. And I mean, some of them are like, you'd be surprised how much of them are like, hey, bro, I need the money for this. I'm just going to walk in here and make this mummy sound. I got $35 for that. You want a pack of cigarettes? I'm like, nah, thanks, bro. I'm good. And it's like, oh, I'll buy you a drink later. Thanks, bro. Hey, keep doing this hypknox thing. It's funny. Yeah, I guess so. And anyway, so like they wanted a party, and I wasn't the partying type. So I was like, well, you hear some music, you go have some fun. But anyways, by the end of it, it's like they all have a hustle to this, and not all of us are gypsies. And you've seen the gypsy curse, you've heard all these other different curses. These are all life methodologies that are supposed to be used to extend great life or imbued life with more things and more positive things, like the spectral anomaly of fucking vision itself. You ever sit there and you hear someone describe that, like, our two clumsy ass cavemen, or this clumsy ass caveman, one fucking random footfall at a time, developed the evolution of walking. But the miracle that it was that we accidentally walked into every fucking footstep of a mistake. It is actually a beautiful speech, but it's just kind of like weird, because it's like vision is like that too. Vision is like that too. Touch is really creepy and like that too. And it's weird because, like, the Holy Bible on magic isn't even the Holy Bible on magic. It's like the grimoire to, like, let's not make any mistakes with life. And it's weird too, because it's like, you know what I am to you and those magic people? Hey, yo, man, I ain't making that mistake. I'm going to go ahead and make a left over here. I'm going to have a fucking sandwich, and I'm going to let you go ahead and do all that mistake. And then if I can heal it, I'll heal it. But I'm going to, like, sit over here and have a different type of beer. That's not wine, and that's not champagne. Yeah, I don't know what it is either, but it's not beer either. So I guess I'll call it a different kind of beer, because it's definitely not champagne, and it's definitely not fucking wine. So I don't know, but it's a different kind of beer. Well, it is some kind of a rotten salsa juice. Yeah, it's kind of alright. I like it. It's good with this weird-ass rye bread sandwich thing or whatever the fuck. And then by the end of it, it's like, that's what's going on here. And it was like, yeah, but, like, it'll heal some of this other stuff. Yeah, it will. Well, good thing we don't, like, get fucked up that much. I don't know. I'm just paranoid. And then, like, by the end of it, it's like, you know what? And then you start looking at this, and you start looking at magic, and you know the beginning of magic and this weird-ass riddle that I'm leaving you. Because I know all this is just kind of like, this guy plays around a lot or some shit. No, not at all, actually. I'm just telling you, like, I run into other people that do some kind of magic, and I don't really have that much magic. I'm more of an evolutionist. So it's like, you and science get along because you're one of those dumb motherfuckers that listens to science and then upgrades your material without telling science. Absolutely, science wants to sell me to every motherfucker like I'm a whore. Like, you know what I mean? Like, let's build a third testicle and a new kidney. Because I got some drinking and fucking to do. And, like, no. All right. Well, it wasn't my idea anyway. But, like, let's get back to the fucking point. Not really. But let's just say that, like, you could go any route with this. And you still would be a big piece of shit because you didn't want to do what they said they wanted to do. Well, fuck that. All you do is make weapons, motherfucker. I'm just trying to go eat. Like, I'm trying to get a snack in there. What's your problem with food? And I give them a sandwich, and I watch them, and they're like, you don't eat the sandwich. How about this? How about some fruits and vegetables? Oh, because that is grown from God naturally. Yeah, I think you like slavery, bruh. Like, you know, I think both of them like slavery a lot. But anyways, or like getting us to fight for weird ass shit that's not supposed to be fought for, like you know, going blind, fighting something bigger than you. Like, it's weird because it's like, every single time that I got in trouble with you and that hair magic motherfucker, it was always something like, that dude is 8'9". He's like 8'9". That Braham, that dude is like 900 pounds of muscle. That dude isn't even a gorilla. I don't even know how he evolved. He must have evolved from a gorilla. He's not one of us. Where did that motherfucker come from? Why does he have one eye? That dude's got one eye. What is that? Like, how did he even figure out where we were? What is this? And, like, so he was just walking a straight line that whole time? Like, well, how the hell did he get here? Like, there's so many questions I have to ask you, but you've already gotten us in trouble. Don't want to be with you. And then by the end of it, I look at the situation, I had it all up, and I'll be like, this is what you call balance in life? Nah, fuck that. I'm gonna make me a sandwich. You fighting that thing on your own. And then if I get involved in that shit and we get our ass kicked, it's like you every time I'm with you, I always get my ass kicked by something we shouldn't have been fucking fighting. We shouldn't have been in that. We shouldn't have been involved with that. That's the type of sucker bullshit that we were with in this guy. This magic motherfucker. And I don't hate him because sometimes it's like, yes, you're brilliant. And your brother is brilliant too. And both of you have fought gallantly. But like, your duel with the other motherfucking guy was so fucking stupid that I can't believe you both are fighting over something that you don't even know what we're talking about. Okay, so you saw this giant silver light and you saw this giant gold light. And then we saw a bar of metal and we went to go eat something different and we were afraid of both of your light and the other light, and you think that we saw something powerful about what you were talking about and you two seem to be fighting over power. Well, let me tell you something. I don't want to tell you what I saw because I already think both of you are fucking crazy and it's sickening. But then by the end of it, it's like, well, that doesn't involve the other motherfucker. I'm saying gold because we on team gold and we have some of that bullshit too. But then when it comes to it, it's like, how come you don't just like fix it every once in a while? Why do you like keep making it worse? And it's like the art of death is like not even stupid. So we know, listen, like the person who runs the art of death, we know the motherfucker, and he's like not that stupid. So sometimes I'm sitting there and I'm like, well, that's clearly not the king of death, so I'm gonna go ahead and mind my own fucking business. You know what I'm saying? I'm just gonna leave that alone. I'm sure death will pick up his mistakes later or some shit. You know what I'm saying? Or dispose of that other person's mistakes later. And I tossed it. I didn't care. That's how simple it was for me. And I was just kind of like, well, yeah, but that's none of my business. Like, are you gonna grow some food today? No. Throw some of these seeds around, either apples or watermelon. Just throw those fucking seeds around everywhere that you can, everywhere that you go. If you're gonna wander around like that, looking for power or whatever it is that you're looking for, this could work out perfectly. Here, take some fucking apple seeds, take some fucking watermelon seeds. One of them has a little bit of death in it. Oh, you don't like either, huh? All right, good. Here, just take those seeds and throw them the fuck around like you have a problem with it then. Like you don't like life, so you're throwing these seeds around and shit. And like, you know, whatever. Do the tiding and the bidding or whatever the fuck. And then do your business. Just throw it around because then by the time that you're done, like, we all have some snacks to eat that might help you in this forgement of complete inept death or some shit. or deafening sound of the malonium oxided, like fucking chrome dominium, like and dense, stupid sound of nothing or something that just seems really hollow. If you like that sort of thing, I don't know. I don't care. But I'll tell you one thing. I sit there and I'm like, all right, the gold opinion is out of the fucking way. We're done here. All that glitters is gold, baby. But like, we'll close the fucking door on this and we don't owe you anything. Now, we get back to the fucking truth and you didn't even want a fucking sandwich. Fuck you. Now you want a sandwich and a drink of water? Now you want a cup of water? You take your water, because I don't drink that much water. How about you have some juice? Have some fruit juice that's been filtered by some other god or something. Here, have some juice. You don't want to drink any juice, just water. All right, motherfucker, whatever you say, you weird motherfucker. And then we close the door on this. Hey, if there's any wax in your ears, you're going to have to learn how to remove that better than Beethoven and alcohol. Because you guys got some weird-ass thermal problems and shit. We out of this shithole. But then it's like the other motherfucker, on the other side, I'd be like, that dude damn near sacrificed his whole brain, memory, his life, his embodiment to anything more crippling to be able to come up with a curse strong enough to not just fight you, because it's obvious that you two weren't just in a fucking fight all the fucking time, which would have been better for humankind anyways. But let's just be real about something. Like, whatever the hell you two were fighting, you definitely were not into life. And it's just kind of sad to know and see and whatever the fuck. But anyways, I'll talk more about the curses on the other side, because I have to filter out some of the things that I say, because I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot some of my magic comes from black magic. In a way it does, but not really. It's just more of like, why do I need mistakes from them when I'm still gonna have to write them out of that, so that they don't have to sit there and think about how many fucking mistakes that they could ask us. Even when I'm sitting there like, we'll write you a new life, but like, you have to measure it out by something. I can't just measure you out like you were born from sand because you're an imbecile, because your eyes hurt when it's obvious that the other person's eyes hurt. So why do you want me to help him? You know what I'm saying? Like, how dumb is I? And when you caught up, it's like you don't have a smart answer. You just a bunch of people stuck with the curse that you had, and it's like, of course, eventually I'm gonna figure out like, oh, you two got in a fight, and then somehow one of you tried to reproduce on each other, and it wasn't sex, but it was reproduction that accidentally gave you both this disease. So you both look like you fucked each other over. You both got fucked over fighting the same monster, huh? And then that monster was like a giant silver bane wolf or some shit, and you both were bitten by it and then disappeared off in the woods and ran away from it. That's what happened to you two, huh? Alright, I'll believe you. Just lay here real quick. Here, eat some of this apple, and then you're gonna need, I'm gonna make you lasagna. You deserve some lasagna. You look like you at least drink some food and shit. So anyways, we'll have some liquids here. I don't know why you're afraid to drink liquids, but I don't drink that much liquids either, so whatever, can't argue with you. And then, like, you know, whatever the fuck. And then, like, I'll give you some tomatoes. Here, have some tomatoes. Those are healthy. Taste some tomatoes then. And then by the end of it, it's like, you know, like some other fruits and vegetables that you can use. The celery will help you with something else. Here, take that. And then by the end of it, it's just like, you know, handing out people some goddamn food and shit. It's just like, you know what's better than magic? Just letting the body repair for its fucking self instead of telling it how to do everything, especially when you don't know. Now, we're stuck in a you know, very modern day world where life deleted some things or killed off some people that were miracle workers, and we actually don't know the rest of that medicinal science. So sometimes what we're stuck with is that the human body knows what it knows to heal for itself and can't forget that, because it's always been working at that or healing or getting advice from each other or breeding for it, and like, you know, a bunch of illegal things that I disagree with. I'll call it illegal, but like, fucking for blood rights is so old school, so basic, that I'm like, of course I disagree. So by the end of it, letting each other's bodies whisper to each other, which is a normal common day thing to be just living and be like, oh, I like this person's hair or something. Yeah, I don't know how to translate that for human beings, but in the other language where bodies like help each other fucking heal, sometimes it's a good thing. Sometimes it's like, I don't remember either. Shit, I don't know. Now that you told me, I don't even remember if I should heal it the way I would normally heal it. And then the next, it just catches on as a fucking problem and shit. But I'll leave you some historical hints so that you don't have to sit there and deal with the fact that like somebody just told me this, but because I just told you all this. But when it comes to like the real factors of life, of how to pick yourself up without hypknox, or how to do this on your own and like regain your balance and see if there's any like secret ways to like figure out how to become a better person. I'm talking about like healing or taking care of mankind, or the course of events that belong to all of us for humanity to prevail in taking care of itself. And I am one of those stupid smart people that's like, of course I hate the world, but of course I wasn't trained to talk to everyone. Like I was taught secrecy like crazy, and don't talk to stupid people, don't talk to people that aren't from your tribe and your family. So I can't tell you certain things, or I won't, because it's like I've always followed those rules. But what I will say is that if you look at someone like Mother Teresa, Mahatma Gandhi, ethnic people that were like affiliated with church or religion, places where they've done a lot of great land baronism, people that took care of the land, people that governed how the philosophies of mankind are going to live and pay rent and shit like that. Things like that will get you these little weird answers about like, if we don't work for them, then we don't work for them. Go ask yourself a question. How does life actually work? What if life is actually paid to live, or has an instruction manual on how much money it has to waste to fucking live and do things for humanity to live, and they actually abundantly abide by those fucking rules? So that's the secret. Like, when you figure out all that, and you figure out what these people are inflicted from, what she wasn't using them for, what Gandhi wasn't using them for, and having a spiritual army, and why almost everyone is inflicted or has some sort of problem in those type of weird armies. And the army of pain is an answer to the army of cure. Now, as much as I want to fix those people, they were used for magic and other different unsightly things in life, and no one really knows why they're cursed. And in some things it's kind of like as obvious as stigmata. God cursed you for what reason? No, of course God didn't curse you. It's just that what's left over is that, like, what are we really fighting for? What are we really living for? You have to ask yourself a lot of questions besides, why am I sick? Who did this to me? Why do you know that someone did it to you? And why are you a little bit right, except for you're not asking yourself the right question? Where was God going? What was God doing? Who are we helping? And then by the end of it, it's like, these are all hints and good, right ways to figuring out this riddle for the next wave of society in case. Because when somebody asks me multiple times, like, why you don't help out when we're in trouble, or how come you don't just tell me what you know, or why are these things that are like, it feels weird to the leader, because it's like, if you could just help out the leader and advise him, why don't you? Because there's too many fucked up things to say that, like, all of these things are so much of a mistake that I wouldn't even give a new leadership or someone who was taking care of us this type of shitty advice on how to cure things if no one knows what to do to act upon their own will for the timely manner that it would take in order for us to deal with a constructive damage as someone leading us through something that is likely not going to be an event of a mistake, other than dealing with true darkness, true reality, true affliction, and things that can only be cured a certain way and require a proactive willingness to care and a loving institute to care and the sacrifice to care for people that are morally more important. And if that's our leader, I didn't say anything because I'm prepared to heal that person and keep him invincible while he does whatever it is that you all wanted. But by the end of it, I've always been voted out, so I look at it and I'm like, oh, you want him to lead us through some guy's paperwork and the amount of money that it would cost us to sustain living. Of course, that's beyond or below what I fight for, but you want me to protect the leader? No problem. Then I shut the fuck up and I sat there and I was like, ooh, I can protect him up to a certain point. I mean, I just hope he'll do what you wanted him to, but then his leverage or use over me and you is very limited and timely. So I don't expect this to be a long one, but I don't mind, like getting through that. But just telling him a bunch of shit that he doesn't need to know, all leadership that I've ever dealt with has always hated that. So I don't know how to deal with that question or that thing that people put on me a lot, like, why don't you, if you're hypknox, why don't you just tell us? And I'm like, tell you what? Like, there's so many problems in the fucking world that it'd be like, it'd be really nice if we could just cure all these modern day diseases that are so complex that every time we go to check those diseases, we can't see fate clearly, and it requires a chemical response or a micro response. And sometimes it seems like a sick joke, because it's like, if they could make a new one faster. Like, have you ever went there and seen how many times this one power hungry dude uses this speech on us, and it's just kind of like, throw that disposable razor away, throw that away and just buy a new one. And then they like to just say buy a new one and shit, because sometimes it's like they're looking at mankind, diseases and repairal and healing, and they're looking at it in a way where no, just throw that person away. I don't care if it's my grandmother, throw her away. Roll her crippled ass out of there and down the fucking Davenport, and let her smash her head on the fucking side of the fucking Ernie, and let her just die. Let her go. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, man. You wouldn't even try to fix it? No, just throw it away and get a new one. Her kidneys are bad. She's going to want another drink. I'm tired of hearing her breathe that way. Just get a new one. And I'm like, God damn. And I'm like, even if it was my own grandmother, just get a new one. Right. I'm like, Jesus Christ. And that's how it goes. But for somebody like me that don't give up, I'll be like, this bitch is going to 300. You with Eric? You with hypknox? You going to 300. We going to 300 years, baby. We going to be living a while. You just going to have to learn to be immortal for a little bit. Because, it might, some of that might be suffering, but some of that shit going to heal. Some of y'all just don't want to eat. And some of y'all just keep eating one type of fucking meal to the point where it's you don't even have a full global healing. You can't see reality because you don't even eat enough things to have a reflection of it. So it's you forgot to eat plants, so you don't remember where the shadow map is, so you don't know what parts of the world run out, because it's always rebuilding fruits and vegetables. So you keep going blind from not eating certain things. I don't know what your problem is. Now, the other people that don't eat and they exist without eating, possible. But also, do you know what it is? Another form of magic that we don't like, why are you living off of other people's weird ass food that's in the air? You're eating fate to repair yourself, and sometimes that shit don't work because it doesn't have the vitamins, the nutrition, and the meal or the protein or anything other than maybe fiber than what you're living, and you're sustaining that to live. So eventually something inside of you is going to corrode, or you're going to turn gray, and you're going to be living like Bullet Silver Man. And then eventually when you go blind, it may not be what you did wrong. You may not even know by then, or dementia sets in because you just refuse to eat anything but fucking oxygen. And the oxygen eventually is well, buddy, I'm not made out of metal, but you found out my secret. Nah. Of course you're not made out of metal, but yeah, there ain't much there, buddy. You're just eating fate. And then after a while, you don't realize it, you're eating some weird planet magnesium or some shit. You're not even on Earth anymore. No wonder you're getting dementia. And we're not talking about dementia. We're talking about the other form of dementia where it's do you even know what you're eating? So, even if you thought, oh, yes, we're all different, we're all from a different spectrum anomaly, we all look different, we're all born from different places, of course, we all eat differently, and we all look different, and we all, born from different places. But eventually, if you get lost and you don't know where you are spiritually, and you don't eat every once in a while, then stuff begins to happen if you can survive without eating. or you run out of certain nutrition, or why these diseases start looking like physical embodiments of reality, because reality is already accepted that you don't eat. It's just the fact that like we don't have the necessary rules to survive reality. So there could be just a mechanical problem and not an inflictary problem, because people already accept that you don't eat. I don't know why it's a heavenly thing not to. I'll tell you one thing, you're a lot better off eating and surviving, because you're always going to have to figure out how to survive your normal surroundings, and most paranormally normal, avoidable things aren't able to live without the immunity that is grants from you constituting the tolerance and the understanding of what you're actually dealing with in your environment, which includes you found something, you ate it, and then you understood your reality or that surrounding better. Now, if that's not a formal understanding of judgment of your key to survival without implementing what you think I eat or don't eat, then that's your hint. And if you know how to teleport or something, bitch, please, I trust me. Like, I've walked you there before. Yes, I know that you know how to teleport. Do you know how ridiculous that shit feels to me? When there's two ways to teleport, and one of them is the hard-working, easy way that I described of helping somebody, and the other one is kind of like, okay, so you somehow have your memory from lapsing around other people, and you don't absorb anything about them. So you're not an eater. I don't know why that makes it easier to teleport, but you wanted to be dropped off where? Oh, you like that continent because it has more power? And you know, like, just trust me on, like, I've seen a lot of bullshit, and I've been a helper and a good person to a lot of shit, and after a while I'm just like, this doesn't make sense, because I work hard for everything. So everything that you all are talking about is like, oh, you mean these shortcuts, you mean magic, the shortcut to, like, you know, destroying somebody else or something. There's no shortcut to destroying somebody else. Those two walked it off or some shit. Walk it off. Deal with the competition. We don't have competition. We both knew we were gonna make it there. We were both just crossing the fucking Atlantic or some shit. Like, there is no competition for that kind of thing. You're not understanding this. Like, whatever it is, we don't know what the fuck you're mad at. And even when we do and don't know, it'd be like, why would you try to kill him? Like, life has a standard of rules, and it's difficult to kill another person. But put it this way, when it comes to like real magic and like cheating the laws of life, it's very difficult to kill another person by normal means. And then when it comes to magic, it'd be like, oh, so you know how to cheat reality and kill a person. Okay, but then by normal means, it's still difficult. And if it's another magic person who obviously you're in war with him because he's an equal of yours, or usually it's something that they both understand, or that person was petty to you, either way, like, it's still kind of difficult. Now imagine if it takes 4 minutes of oxygen to be deprived to someone's brain in order for them to die. Let me give you a hint about something. That is quite a 4-minute fight that you think you have on your hands. And then by the end of it, it's like all the things that you think they did, okay, they got another 30 seconds, so about 5 minutes and 30 seconds. All right, he shrugged your arm off and loosened your grip for a moment. Now he's got another 20 seconds to breathe. And then it's just like, man, that's a 45-minute fucking slug-out war fighting this guy hand-to-hand style. And, like, you know, that's what magic is. Everybody has magic. And as soon as it's unlocked, most of the time, the other person understands it's like, holy shit, I'm being assaulted with magic. And then they kind of go, like, automatically spiritually go back into everything that they know about magic and have enough just to slightly defend themselves, because being attacked by magic is a normal everyday thing, because they call those things elements. So when you're out walking around, breathing, doing shit, whatever the fuck, living your life, all of that is an embodiment of things you have to do to sustain and survive your environment. So your body probably knows more about what's going on than you do, and it can be increasingly difficult for someone to die that way or to deal with things that way. Not that I'm saying that it's difficult to kill people, because sometimes it can be easy. Sometimes people just know how to kill people magically, or whatever the hell it is that your problem is. But when it's just like you and white magic and black magic and war, or what we know about it, or the other things that are just like wrong in the universe that you are, you know, telling us about through your authority, it may not represent like how I can help you deal with it, why I seem to think that you're stupid, or what I can actually do for the other person, embodied by the fact that whoever has lesser mistakes. But to know that you would take advantage of that many suffering people's mistakes in order to deal with your selfish, spoiled power, or your need or want for power, is so fucking disgusting and degrading that, like, I don't even want to own up to the matter of knowing anything about it, other than that, like, I work for a different division that is against magic. So I'll talk more about that later and why we're so against magic. But it's not like I just sit around and fight it off by handing out curses. I actually null and numb a lot of things. And then when it comes to, like, magic being like a brute force sport, it's like giving a man a chance to fight for his fucking life. And I don't even know why I have to do it. I just do it because it seems more important to the laws of life than the laws of reality and what you people do with it, or why I know that by the end of it, it belongs to a different side of magic, and I'm not supposed to really deal with you at all, other than that you're breaking each other's rules and you don't even know why you're in each other's filing cabinet for failing things against each other that weren't proficient to the way you see or the way they see magic. So by the end of it, I'm just like, man, I hope the laws of reality win.